Hi, this is Miss Park. In this video, we're going to factor complex trinomials. We're going to use three methods: the area model, the Criss-Cross method, and the trial and error. Now, fun part is that these three are really essentially the same thing. They just look different. The other method of factoring complex trinomials that you can use is decomposition, but look for that in a different video. Okay, so let's do an example. I'm just going to write one here. And we're going to factor 6x squared minus 11x minus 35. Okay, using the method of decomposition, you would have to find two numbers that multiply to whatever 6 times negative 35 is and add up to negative 11. If you feel that those numbers are going to get big, a little hard to work with, you might want to consider some of these other methods. Okay, so let's do this first with an area model. So with an area model, I'm going to draw my rectangle and I'm going to put my little rectangles inside. We know 6x squared goes here, and we know negative 35 goes here. So the x's will multiply together and give 6x squared. The numbers will multiply together and give negative 35. And then the other rectangles will be whatever you get when you multiply the numbers with the x's. So this is going to require a little bit of trying numbers and erasing them if it doesn't work out. So to get a 6x squared, I know I need an x and an x, but I also need to get a 6. So I'll go a 2x here and a 3x here. That gives me a 6. Now, if that didn't work out later on, then I could try x times 6x. Okay, so that might be something I have to do. Sometimes we pick the wrong things to sit up there for those side lengths, and we just have to erase and change them. All right, now I need two numbers that multiply to negative 35, so I have options. I have positive 5 and negative 7, and I have positive 7 and negative 5. And I also have options as to where to put them. So let's say, for example, I go positive 7 here and negative 5 here. Okay, I can switch around the 7 and the 5. I can also switch around the plus and the minus, but they must multiply to negative 35. So when I fill in the remaining rectangles, this one's going to be 14x, and this one is going to be negative 15x. When I check this middle term, negative 15x plus 14x does not equal what I need, which is negative 11x. So I know that I didn't choose well. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of all of these. I'm going to get rid of all of these numbers. And how about I switch the 5 and the 7 then? All right, so let's go put the 5 over here and put the 7 over here. So that still works. Okay, and so 2x times 5 is 10x. And negative 7 times 3x is negative 21x. Check the middle term. Does this add up to negative 11 now? It does. So now I can write this as 2x minus 7 times 3x plus 5. And of course, as you know, you could check by expanding this and making sure that it works out to whatever your original expression was. Okay, so this is factoring using the area model. So we've seen this a few times in other videos. Really nice thing. And it requires you to try numbers, and then if they don't work out, you erase them and try different numbers. Let's check this method called Criss-Cross. Okay, so Criss-Cross is very, very similar, except we don't draw the box. So the way it looks is like this. Underneath a 6 and underneath a negative 35, we're going to try numbers. Okay, and the numbers we're going to try will multiply to each of these. So for example, I can put a 2 here and a 3 here. I know that makes 6. And then under the negative 5, I could put a 5 and a 7. Okay, because they multiply to negative 35. And I will have to choose which one's going to be negative. So maybe I'll choose this one's going to be negative. Okay, so now what I do is I multiply crisscross. It means diagonally. I'm going to multiply diagonally, and I'm going to add what I get when I multiply. So I'm going to go 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 times negative 7, which is negative 14. And that's going to give me 1. What answer it's going to give me needs to match up with this middle term, which is negative 11. So the 1 I know was not a good choice. The way I've placed these numbers is not a good choice because that doesn't add up to negative 11. So what will I do? Well, I'm going to erase these. Okay, just like I did with the area model. I'm going to erase them, and let's put the 5 over here and the 7 over here. Okay, now I'm going to multiply crisscross. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 times -5 is -10. Add those up, I get 11. That's good, except my original expression had -11. So that didn't really work. So what will I do? I'm going to have to try to switch which one's positive and which one's negative. So let's make this one the -1, and this is then the 5, keep it positive. Now I'm going to go 3 times -7 is -21, plus 2 times 5 is 10. That is my -11. Okay, so I know that that's the right combination. And what we do now is we read across. Okay, so like horizontally. And so I have a 2 and then this -7, we read that as 2x minus 7. And then the 3 and the 5, we read that as 3x plus 5. And you notice it's the same thing as the area model. It's the same answer, it's factored. But also I went through the same process of trying those numbers to see what combinations will work out. So both of them involve trying numbers and then erasing and then fixing them again. Third method is called trial and error. Well, all trial and error means is try some numbers. If they don't work, erase them and try other numbers. Sound familiar? Sure, it's exactly the same as this. So let's see how trial and error looks different. Okay, so this is your third method, trial and error. So how does it look different? 6x squared, same question, minus 11x minus 35. With trial and error, we go directly to the brackets, just like we did with a simple trinomial. We go directly to the brackets. It's a one-step thing. Notice how here I had to draw a window, I had to draw this rectangle. Here I had to draw all this crisscross stuff. But with trial and error, you go straight to the brackets, and all you do is this. I need to get 6x squared from the first terms in each bracket. So 2x and 3x, let's say. I need to get -35 from the last two terms in the brackets. So let's say I go -5 and +7. Okay. Now, if I do the distribution, okay, or FOIL, F-O-I-L, I want to see, did I factor this correctly? Does this look like my original question? So let's try. 2x times 3x, that's 6x squared. That's good. Now, 2x times 7 is 14x. And here I have minus 15x. So 14x minus 15x doesn't equal -11x. I know my last two will be -35 because that's how I pick those numbers. But I can see that this is not correct because the middle terms will not add up to -11. So I'm going to change them. Okay, let's make this one the 7 and this one the 5. So now let's test it. I don't have to check my first two terms. I don't have to check my last two terms, but I do have to check the middle term. So when I multiply the middle term, I'm going to get 2x times 5, which is 10x, and then -7 times 3x, so that's 10x minus 21x, and that is the right combination to give me -11x. And so I did all the work in one step. Okay? And so what do these three things have in common? They all require trial and error, right? They're all written differently, but they all require trying numbers to see what gives you that middle term. Okay, and you are welcome to use any of these methods for factoring, including the method of decomposition. So what are some advantages to these methods and some advantages to decomposition? Is that if your times tables, your mental math with the multiplication facts, if that's not super fast, you might have trouble with crisscross because there might be many combinations of numbers to try. And you might be, trying and erasing and trying and erasing and trying and erasing, which could be a little bit frustrating and also time consuming. So you might prefer the method of decomposition because once you pick the two numbers that multiply to AC and add to B, the rest is all factor by grouping and there's no erasing involved, right? If you're pretty quick with your multiplication facts, you might find that these methods require less writing and they're faster for you. Okay, so it's up to you to choose what works best. The best thing I can suggest is try all of them. Get some good practice with all 4 methods, and so that you can pick the one that works best for you. Okay, thank you. Please practice. Thanks for watching.